Do you ever get frustrated trying to figure out how to start or build a network marketing business just to find out what it really takes? I know I did. For about 7 years, I failed over and over and over again. And to the point, to be honest with you, I go, I'm done. I'm never doing it again. It wasn't until I had the right mentors that came into my life that started to teach me what to do, what not to do, that changed everything. So yes, now I'm a multiple 7-figure earner, have a dream lifestyle that I thank God for every single day, but it wasn't always like that. And so on this webinar, the realities of building your network marketing business, my goal is to shave years off your learning curve. And we're gonna continue to bring you webinars and training content. So make sure you connect with us at succeedwithdarin.com. Click on the social media icon so we can stay in touch, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so on today's webinar, we're going to do things a little bit different. What I want to do is I want to actually talk to you on this webinar just like you and I are sitting down for coffee and you're asking me for advice on what to do to go out and hit your goals and your dreams in your network marketing company. So first of all, let me give you a little bit more about my background because I think you may or may not be able to relate. But when people hear my story, they go, you know what, if Darin Kidd can do it, I can do it, and that's true. So like I said in the intro, I failed for about 7 years. Said I'm done. I was a member of the NFL, if anybody else can relate, the No Friends Left Club, because I had tried so many things, and I ended up bankrupt. I ended up having my car repossessed on government assistance. I'm a college dropout. My wife's a college dropout. And we live in a small town. We're up to 4 traffic lights in our town, so a little small town. Needless to say, I was depressed. When you can't feed your kids, can't support your wife, couldn't keep a job, couldn't make it through college, everybody in your small town knows that you failed over and over and over again. I didn't have a lot of hope. But the mentors that came into my life that really started to coach and mentor me and train me changed everything. And so what I want to do is I want to help you with that today. I want to shave years off your learning curve, help you go out there and launch or relaunch. That's the great thing about network marketing. You could have been in your company now for a year, 2 years, or more, and you make a decision today that you want to go out and start over, and we can definitely help you with that. All right, first of all, let me just say this. You made a great decision. At age 65, 97% of the people are broke. Right? So understand that only probably 3% of the people are going to see what we see anyway. So if we want something different than the masses, we have to do something different than the masses, right? So that's why you joined your company, and that was a smart move. But don't be frustrated when you go out and you start talking to some of your friends that are financially challenged, and they start saying things like, hey, it never works, that's not going to happen. And I love it when they say, oh, I know someone that did something like that and it didn't work. That's like saying, I know people that go to the gym and they're still out of shape. It's not that gyms don't work, it's people that don't work. So do we listen to those broke friends, family, and neighbors? And remember, we buy their opinion, we buy their lifestyle. That's like you asking me, hey, Darin, how do I grow hair? You know, you're not gonna ask me that question because I can't grow it myself. I can grow it, but it's a cul-de-sac, right? It's like a little cul-de-sac. It's a beautiful horseshoe, but that's about it. So remember, we want to listen to the right people, and you made a great decision so you can have confidence and have the posture knowing that you're doing what's best for you and your family. I mean, we're now over 100 million people worldwide in this great profession of network marketing. It's a $190 billion profession, growing at a rapid pace. And remember, franchises 30 years ago were looked at as a scam. Now everybody accepts franchises. And the great thing about what we do when it comes to a traditional business, because I've had 2 franchises and we're trying to sell the last one now, and we'll make you a great deal on it, by the way, on this webinar only. But we spent on the last one about $400,000. So in a franchise, traditional business, you have a huge investment, very little to no support. When it comes to a network marketing company, you have a minimal investment. I mean, you know, an iPhone, a smartphone, you can invest and get started. Or in our franchise, it was frozen yogurt. You have a fudge warmer that's $500 sitting by the cash register. And we had mascots that were $1,500. So you have very little investment compared to a traditional business, but a lot of support. So let me give you a couple things. First of all, the U economy. Why network marketing? Why now? This publication, on the very front of it, I know it's probably hard for you to see, but it says, in the modern world, the company man is out, the entrepreneur is in, and it said the 9-to-5 job is over. I mean, right close to where I live, there's a hospital laid off 160 people. which kind of blew my mind because I had friends of mine that had their wives were telling us they were working them 17 hours a day, which is illegal because they didn't have enough help. And then if you go to the hospital, they're doing millions of dollars of construction on every time you turn a corner. And I'm like, why would they lay off 160 people? When one of the top ladies was at our presentation from the hospital, said, Darin, let me tell you what they did. It's very sad. They took 160 people approaching retirement and got rid of them so they wouldn't have to pay them a full retirement. And that's happening more and more and more. So when it comes to this profession, they're saying in the next 12 months, remember, 100 million people worldwide are already in network marketing, but in the next 12 months, 1 in 5 that have never joined any company will join. They're looking for a better way. Also, an article that I recently read said that by 2020, 40% of Americans will do some type of freelance work, whether it's Uber, Etsy, Upwork, whatever company it is. But in network marketing, we have residual income. You have the potential to earn reoccurring, predictable income. Or you have this book, The 4-Year Career, that I was blessed to be featured in this one, the Heroes Edition by Richard Bliss Brooke. And let's look at what just a few. I'm not going to read all the quotes, but I want you to know that you made a great decision. Tony Robbins. Here's a guy whose companies do, I think it's about $6 billion a year. He's not only a motivational speaker, consults, presidents and athletes and famous people, author of Unlimited Power and many different programs. He says, what's beautiful about network marketing is you get all the benefits of being a business owner without all the headaches and without the same level of risk. And so I think network marketing's amazing. Or you have Richard Branson. Richard Branson, founder of Virgin Group, business investor, philanthropist, one of the most iconic entrepreneurs in the world, right? Not our neighbor, right, that lives paycheck to paycheck and always complains about living paycheck to paycheck and has no time freedom. But Richard Branson, I am a tremendous believer in network marketing. And you have quotes from Jim Rohn and Bob Proctor, Brian Tracy. Robert Kiyosaki, best-selling business author of all times, says, look, direct selling gives people the opportunity with very low risk, very low financial commitment to build their own income, generating assets and acquiring great wealth. He even has an entire book called Business of the 21st Century, which you can go out and you can read this book. And it's got great info to help you as you're out there. First of all, it lets you know you made a great decision. And then if you're talking to other people, it gives you some really good information you can share with them. And I'll just give you one more quote. Warren Buffett, billionaire investor and owner of 3 direct selling network marketing companies, the best investment Berkshire Hathaway has ever made. So definitely the right time to be in network marketing. You made a great decision. We have the right vehicle. And now the world is paying attention that we have a better way. Like Eric Worre with Network Marketing Pro always says, there is a better way. And the only reason people aren't involved, they just don't know about it. So again, congratulations on making a great decision to go out and better you, better your family, and better your life. Okay, so let's get right into some of the training content. First of all, there's 3 things, 3 keys that you have to be successful in network marketing. If you do not have these 3 things, I personally believe it's not possible. Here's the good news. You're watching this webinar, so you most likely have all 3 of these things. Number 1, you have to be coachable or teachable. Now, here's what I mean by that. Most people go, yeah, I'm coachable, until you tell them something that makes them uncomfortable or rubs them the wrong way. And what I've learned from my experience is if it rubs me the wrong way, makes me uncomfortable, most of the time it was meant for me. So you have to leave your background at the door. For example, I've seen, like my background in sales. Salespeople have the hardest time because we come in, we want to talk too much, we want to verbally vomit all over our prospects, right? We want to show off our sales skills, and that's not duplicatable. So when they go, Darin, you don't want to build an army of salespeople. You want to build an army of people that can do very simple things over a consistent period of time. So I had to put leave my ego at the door. Big egos equal small pockets. I've seen doctors that come in and they go, look, I'm a doctor. I'm not going to go out here and do these things that you're telling me to do. We're going to set up my employees at the office to go out there and market your products or your services, and never works. But then I've seen doctors that have come in, like one that's a personal friend of mine, and he's like, look, you know what? I went to school to be a doctor for 11 years total, and I don't know this profession. So I want you to teach me exactly what to do. And he hit the top position in the company. So you want to make sure, number 1, that you're coachable. You plug in to what your company and your mentors tell you exactly what to do. Don't debate the system. If they've been there and they've done that, then you can have faith that it's going to work for you as well. All right, number 2, you have to be willing to work. This is called network marketing, not net play marketing, not I hope I win the lottery marketing. Let me wait for my upline to go build it for me. We have to treat it like any other business, because in businesses we make money, hobbies we spend money. So we get into network marketing. Somebody gives us those false promises. Look, you can get in, not do anything. People are going to fall on your organization. You don't have to work that hard. You're going to get rich quick. You know what? None of that's true. If it sounds easy, it's sleazy, right? Or illegal. I don't know which one, but it's probably one of those. But you have to go out there and you have to put in the work. Okay, you have to treat it like a business. And yes, most people are part-time when they join the companies, any network marketing company, and they should be part-time, because one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they quit their job too soon. And they go out there and people can smell commission on their breath, and they're putting pressure on people, and it's not as fun. But you have to be willing to go out there and do work. And let me tell you an entrepreneurial lie when it comes to network marketing. Now, there's a difference in an employee and an entrepreneur. Employees, there's certain things that are not available to them that are available to entrepreneurs, like freedom. But here's the lie in network marketing. Okay, you ready? You can write it down. I work. That's a lie. Because let me give you a couple examples. If we go out there and you go, look, Darin, I'm going to pay you $1,000 a week to work for me. And let's say that we come up with a little 15-minute presentation where you're going to pay me every day to go out, work 8 or 9 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is. And I'm just going to do little presentations throughout the day. And then at the end go, hey, what caught your attention the most? Was it the products? Was it the business? Or was it a little bit of both? And if you're going to do that, pay me $1,000 a week, and I'm doing it 5 days a week, how many would you expect me to do every single day? Well, when I ask that when I'm in front of an audience, most of them will say, well, I would expect you to at least do 1 an hour, 8 a day. Well, that's 40 in a week. That's 160 in a month. I go, what if we charge, you pay me $250 a week and I only work a couple hours a day? Well, they would expect me to do about 2 a day is the general consensus from the different, groups that I've spoken to. That's 10 a week. That's 40 presentations in a month. But people in network marketing, the average distributor actually does 2 presentations a month. Now, you can do a presentation using a third-party tool, watching a video, so on and so forth, but only 2. So it does take work, but is it worth it? Absolutely, 1,000 times over. Okay, now for the last, number 3, you have to have desire. Now, how do you create desire? You know why you're building the business. And it's not the money, trust me. If it's for the money, you're going to quit. You have to put an emotional attachment to the money. So for me, and you can go to succeedwithdarin.com, you can hear more about my story, but we were bankrupt and we had this big Coca-Cola plastic piggy bank. And my daughter, my oldest daughter at the time, which by the way, my wife and I have 5 kids, which I always tell people you have to be careful. That can happen if you work from home, right? You can have a bunch of kids. But the oldest child, we said, look, one day we're going to go to Disney World, someday. And you know what? Some people, some days are other people's every day. Some day leads to a town called nowhere. So that's what I was telling my daughter, just like I had been told my entire life, having good intentions, but just never happening. So we would take the change and we would put it in this Coca-Cola plastic piggy bank and we would save for Disney World. Well, one day she comes into the bedroom, my wife and I had the money out on the floor and we're sorting through the change, getting enough to go out and be able to get food. And she runs out of the room crying because mommy and daddy are taking her money for Disney World. And that was the day I drew a line in the sand. I put on my wall, wrote it out on a postcard, I will until. And that's when someone said, Darin, success is buried right underneath frustration. And I go, well, you know what? I have to be close, but because I can't get any more frustrated than I am right now. But every time I felt like quitting, which was every day, I would rerun that through my head and I would go, no, they can quit on their family. I'm not quitting on my family. I will until. And then the late billionaire, Paul J. Meyer, he got us to go out and do dream boards. And I remember him telling me that. And I'm like, man, are we kindergartners? Why are we going to do a dream board? But I'm like, he's a billionaire and I'm not. He has 40 companies in 60 countries that do billions of dollars a year because he knew that our mind doesn't know the difference in reality and what we actually tell it. So when you visualize an experience, your brain will actually produce the same chemicals and endorphins as if it's actually happened. And then psychologists have proven that we move in the direction of our expectations, right? So Paul Meyer would say, we magnetize the condition that we seek. So what thou seest, thou beest. If you can see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand, but you have to see it here before you ever see it in reality. So the clearer the picture of your future, the more goal-directed your actions are on a daily basis. So when things get tough, right, and they will get tough, that's what helps you stay strong enough, long enough, is knowing exactly why you're in the business. Okay, now let's talk about the learning process. There's actually 4 types of knowledge that you're going to go through. And the good thing about our profession is you get to earn while you learn. Okay, yeah, I believe in education. My kids are going to private school, they're going to college, but they don't really get a chance to earn while they learn. We do in this great profession. So for example, number 1 is learned knowledge. It's what you're getting right now in this webinar. It's maybe your company has a weekly, training, weekly conference call. Maybe your company sends you a kit that has audios in that kit. Maybe it's a monthly, regional training that you go to. All of that is learned knowledge, and that's very important. Number 2, activity knowledge. Now listen to me closely, right? Because I will bet you're a lot like me and every person that watches this webinar. If we wait till we feel like we're ready, we're never going to feel ready. Okay? I know I just go, man, I need a little more training. I just need to organize my desk. I need to go through some emails. But psychologists have proven that it is easier to act your way into a feeling than feel your way into acting. So in other words, a big key to life is act the way you want to feel, and soon you'll feel the way you act. That motion creates emotion, right? Emerson, Watson, the founder of IBM, he said, if you want to double your rate of success, you double your rate of failure. So 1 hour in the field is worth 20 hours in the classroom. So you're going to get the learned knowledge, then you're going to go out and you're going to fail forward, as John Maxwell talks about. And I like to say, look, we don't fail. The only way you fail is to quit. The way I look at it, I either win or I learn. So if my income happens to be bigger than your income, okay, in your company, it only means that I've failed more, right? But when you do that, you're going to plan, do review, and you're going to get more learned knowledge, and then you're going to go back and do the activity again. But activity is extremely important. Focus on the activity and not the results, because the results will absolutely frustrate you like they do me. I even train on it, and I still have to remind myself, Darin, you train on it. Remember, don't focus on the results. Just do the activities that will lead you to the results. Okay, now let's go to number 3, modeling knowledge. Couple different ways to look at that. I used to say things like, when I get a big team, I will start doing some of the things that you're telling me to do, but it's really not that big a deal at this point. And then my mentors taught me, Darin, the attitude comes before the money. The money doesn't come before the attitude. If you ever want to have a big team, since everything that we do duplicates good or bad in this profession, you got to make sure the master copy is worth duplicating. So I needed to work on myself as hard or harder than I'm working on my business. And the other way we can look at that is you find somebody that has what you want and you model what they do. That's why you take the top leaders in your company, you come to a webinar like this, you learn from their years of experience. Why would we spend our entire life trying to figure out what to do right when we can listen to someone who has already done that, and they put it in a book, they put it on a webinar or some type of training, and we watch the training, we read the book, and we shave years off our learning curve. So modeling knowledge is definitely a big key in the learning process. And last but not least, number 4, teaching knowledge. Imagine if I told you before you started watching this webinar, I go, okay, listen, I want you to do this. I want you to take notes, because we're going to get you to record this webinar over, and we're going to send it out to the entire company that you're in. Okay, how would you take notes? How would you take notes if you go to a regional training? They go, look, the next training, you're doing the training, so take notes extremely well. You would take notes like you've never taken notes before. So what I've learned from my experience is make sure that I'm always listening and taking notes and learning as if I'm going to have to teach it, because who learns more, the student or the teacher? The teacher definitely learns more. All right, now that we've talked about the 4 types of knowledge, what I want to do is I want to give you the magic ingredient. It's a tip that the late billionaire Paul J. Meyer gave me that completely changed my life. And when I'm normally doing this at a live event, when I tell them, hey, look, this changed my life, it's been a big key to the success that I've had, and I go, if I charged each of you $10,000 for this one thing, the magic ingredient, it would be the deal of the century. And I go, how many want to know what the magic ingredient is. And they all raise their hand and I go, okay, pass me your 10,000, or maybe today a special only give me 5,000, but here it is. And when I say it, you're gonna go, it can't be that simple, but it is. The magic ingredient, I was mentored for over a decade by this billionaire. And every year we would go out to a retreat center and he would have some of the best leadership coaches in the world fly in to train us. And I remember he had Ken Blanchard, who's one of the top leadership guys in the world and best-selling author. You go into all the bookstores, you'll see his books. And Ken Blanchard went to Paul Meyer and said, look, I don't understand myself. Why is there more information available than ever before in books, on your phone? You can Google anything about health, wealth, relationships, finances, but why are there more people struggling with all those different areas and more? But yet there's more than you could ever read in a lifetime. And Paul Meyer said it's simple. Okay, they're missing the magic ingredient. The magic ingredient is spaced repetition. Spaced repetition. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. How many of you have ever been into, let's say you've done martial arts? Well, I've done something for over 20 years, kickboxed and a little MMA and different things. I know enough to get beat up, so don't challenge me after the webinar, right? And I could teach you some self-defense moves. Maybe it's simple blocks. It's just putting your hands up and you practice and you look like a professional. In an hour, I'm like, man, you look like you've been doing it your entire life. That night, you go out to dinner. You're walking out to your car. You're walking by an alleyway. Somebody's getting ready to rob you, and first they're going to hit you and try to knock you out, and they jump out and they go to swing, and instead of doing what we taught you to do, which is just putting your hands up, you scream and go, ah, and put your hands out to the side. Why did you do that? Because it's called muscle memory. A friend of mine that's fought in the UFC a bunch of times, he said, Darin, it takes 10,000 reps to become muscle memory where you don't even think about it. Bruce Lee used to talk about how when he would get into a fight, a real fight, it was like he stepped outside of his body and he would just watch his body go to work. We have to rep our mind like we rep our muscles in the gym. Paul Meyer said, Darin, 50%, over 50% of what you retain is after the fifth time that you hear it, see it, or read it. So he told me instead of reading one book a month, a new book every month for 4 to 6 months, he said, Darin, I would rather you read the same book once a month for 4 to 6 months before you go to the next one. When we would go through one of his programs, there would be a 15, 20-minute audio. He would get us to read the program, the same one every day, and listen to the 15, 20-minute audio every single day for 5 or 6 days in a row before we went to lesson number 2. So when I learned spaced repetition and I started repping my mind like I rep my muscles, have you ever read a book again? Or have you ever listened to an audio tape again? Or audio tape, I'm telling you how old I am right now, right? Or an audio program, and you go back and go, man, that wasn't in there before. Somebody re-recorded that and put it back in my car. That chapter wasn't in that book. It's not that the information changed, it's we that changed. So I will go listen to something over and over and over again until I can say it backwards in my sleep. So in the 4 types of knowledge, you do the learned knowledge, you go do the activity. Then you go back and do the learned knowledge and you do the activity. That spaced repetition is like a rocket on the way to the moon. 97% of the time it's off track, but it continues to readjust. It's only on track about 2 or 3% of the time. So when you're going through the learning process of learned activity, until we're worthy of being modeled, until we're able to teach it, that spaced repetition is something that will make a major difference. I never listen to anything one time or read anything one time. I will listen to it and read it over and over and over again. And I promise you, you're going to grow and you're going to pick up things that you didn't pick up before, not because the information changed once again, it's because you changed. Okay, a couple more things that I want to talk to you about that normally if I'm sitting down in front of you, I will ask you, hey, look, do you want me to tell you what you need to hear or what you want to hear? And obviously you're watching this, so you want me to tell you what you need to hear to be successful. So here's the reality, another reality of building your network marketing business. It's an emotional roller coaster. Okay, if you hadn't felt like quitting yet, you just hadn't been in long enough. For me, I used to want to quit about 100 times a day. Now I'm down to maybe 2 or 3 a day, but that's going to happen. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to get involved in your company, whether you've been in your company for a while, maybe you're getting ready to relaunch and start over, draw a line in the sand, or maybe you're just getting started. You're watching this video to really go out there and go, what do I need to do to take off, in the business and with my company? and you're going to be in the no sleep zone at some point. You're going to be so high, you're going to be, man, I'm so excited because the dream machine is turned on again. Man, you've had dust on that thing for years, right? Because we're so conditioned by society telling us what we cannot do. So now you're thinking, man, maybe I'd like to be a stay-at-home parent. Now I know I can see myself being a stay-at-home parent. I can retire my spouse. I can give to this charity, this foundation, give to my church. I'd love to have a new car. Maybe I'd like to change my zip code, put my kids in a different school system. You're just jacked out of your mind. You're like a chihuahua jacked up on a case of Red Bull, right? You're in the no sleep zone. Then you go out and you go, look, man, I've got some friends. I know they're going to see this like I see it. Well, remember, most people at 65 are broke, 97% of the people. Most people are not going to see what we see. So you go talk to those people and they say some of the stupidest things you've ever heard. Like, for example, maybe I heard someone tried the product and their ear fell off, or, I knew people that tried that, it didn't work, they went bankrupt, which is kind of funny. I mean, if they went bankrupt investing a few $100s in most companies, you know what, for less than a smartphone, it wasn't the business that bankrupted them. Or I knew someone that tried that and it didn't work. Like I mentioned earlier in the webinar, it's like saying I know people go to the gym, they're still out of shape. Gyms don't work. They're all a bunch of scams. It's not gyms don't work. It's us. It's people that don't work. So you went from the no sleep zone to the self-doubt phase. That's when you're going, man, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should just work until I die. Maybe I should just, continue on my path and never have financial freedom or time freedom. And you start to really think about those things, and it happens pretty fast. That's when you have to remember why you're doing the business. Are you doing it for your kids, doing it for your spouse, doing it for your church? Maybe you want to travel. Think about why, because that's what helps you stay strong enough, long enough. And I used to get mad, to be honest with you, at the challenges. At the challenges of people telling me no, people stealing my product, people not showing up to a party or a get-together. Then my mentor said, Darin, don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. That's what Jim Rohn talks about. And you get paid based on the size of the problem you can solve. So you can decide at that point when you're in the self-doubt phase, hey, look, this is the process. Enjoy the process. It can make me bitter or it can make me better. It can be a stumbling block or it can be a building block. You have to decide that. When I was bankrupt, couldn't feed my kids, no one could have ever told me, Darin, that will be one of the best things that ever happened to you. But now looking back, if I hadn't went through those challenges, it wouldn't have forced me to draw a line in the sand and become who I am today. And guess what story motivates people? That story. Okay, and then here's what's going to happen. You're going to have someone, as long as you don't quit, they'll call you back and go, man, you have never seen anybody do what I'm going to do, Darin. Like, I'm going to make you rich. I got a friends, uncles, cousins, neighbors, dog, neighbor, friend that knows everyone. They're friends with, Bill Gates, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Then you're back up again, like you're in the no sleep zone again. And maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month, they go into the witness protection program, right? They run from you in the grocery store. They don't answer your calls. I mean, it's just weird. Like, how could you donate your money and then go into the witness protection program? That is completely normal. It's the way it works. So it's up, it's down. It's up, it's down. The only difference is as long as you stay strong enough, long enough, remember why you're doing it. You're going through the process. You're going through the different types of knowledge. You're coachable. You're teachable. You're willing to work. You've got that desire. Eventually, your lows will be higher than your previous highs. And you're going to continue to get better and better. So when I learned, you know what, you're going to be bad before you're good, I'm like, I just want to get it out of the way faster, right? So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do more and compress time frames. But it is an emotional roller coaster. Get ready, but it's worth it. The next thing I want to talk to you about is time versus money. So if you're going to get started, and let's say it's over a 5-year period. Now, you can compress time frames if you want to work harder and you want to do more in a shorter period of time. That's completely up to you. But let's just use 5 years as an example. So if you look at the chart, the first year you're putting in a lot of time, and you look at your paycheck and you go, I would be better off working minimum wage. Like, this is ridiculous. My spouse is negative. People are laughing at me. People are stealing my product. No one's showing up. And this is what I'm getting paid. But every entrepreneur has to go through a season of sacrifice. You don't start out just going, man, I want to be at this income. And you jump straight to that point. But over the next year, it's a little less time and a little more money. And by the 5th year, if you're working hard, treating it like a business, and again, don't compare yourself to other people. You hear people getting into a company and they hit the top position in 24 hours, something ridiculous like earn a car, all this crazy stuff. There's always a story behind the story, right? All of us have to go through the process. You have to step up to the counter and pay full retail price for success. There is no shortcut. The longest distance for success in network marketing is a shortcut. So eventually what's going to happen is your income will grow by multiplication, and you won't know where most of your income is coming from. You'll spend it, but you won't know where it's coming from. So you have to work hard, be consistent and persistent until the multipliers kick in, until you push through the fire to get to the other side. And what's really sad is a lot of times I see people, they just stop right there and they're 3 feet from gold. So remember, it's an emotional roller coaster. The time versus money, you're going to work harder in the beginning than you get paid to eventually get paid for more than what you do. Okay, and I want to give you one more thing, and this is really something that 18 years ago when I was bankrupt, it was another one thing that changed everything. And it was when I heard best-selling author Jeff Olson, actually at that time he didn't have it in a book, he talked about the slight edge. So you can imagine I'm sitting in the back of a room and I'm having a pity party for myself. I'm going, you know what, these people must come from big cities. I live in a small town. They must have a college education. I have a lack of education. They must be great public speakers. I'll pass out in front of 5 people if you make me stand up and say anything, right? And I'm bankrupt, and they repossess my car, and everybody's laughing at me. But I heard him, so I didn't feel like it was possible for me to go out and change my life. But I heard Jeff Olson talk about, which is now a book, and we'll make sure we give you the link to be able to go out and purchase that book, The Slight Edge. It's doing simple things on a daily basis that seem to make no difference at all in the act of doing them that compound. Now, it can be a simple error in judgment or a simple discipline. Like I remember him talking about that day, and it's stuck in my head ever since that day, which has now been, 18, 20 years ago, whatever it's been. He said, if you walked into McDonald's and you saw someone on the floor and you go, what happened? And you go, they ate a Big Mac, French fries, milkshake, a couple apple pies, and they died of a heart attack immediately. We would never eat that again, right? But it wasn't what they ate that day that killed them. It was and he said it like this, they slowly dug a grave with their teeth. And I go, oh, that's pretty bad, but it stuck in my head. And it made me think about that. It's the simple little things, good or bad. So before, to be honest with you, focusing and reading a book is challenging. I like to do a lot of audio. But if I read 10 pages, a lot of times I forget what I read on 9 because I'm thinking about something else while I'm reading, right? True story. I bought a speed reading book years ago. I still have not finished it. That's pretty bad, right? But when he talked about, could you read 10 pages out of a good book a day? I'm like, you know what? I can do that, even if I have to reread it a couple times. Well, that's about a book a month. So most people don't read a book a year. So over 10 years, they hadn't read 10 books. But if you're reading a book a month, 10 pages a day, which is easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. In 10 years, you've read over 100. Who's got the slight edge then? The simple little things. The difference between a first place racehorse and a second place racehorse may only be a nose, but what's the difference in first prize and second prize? It could be 10 times the amount of prize money. So as you're building your business and you're working hard, remember every day we can't control results, but we can control activities that will eventually lead us to the results. Don't get mad at the process. Lighten up and your sales will brighten up. Have fun. Give them time to compound. Give yourself time to grow and learn through that process, and you will be amazed at where you can be over the next 6 to 12 months by being persistent and consistent and keeping a positive attitude. I know people that were persistent, consistent, but they had a bad attitude. You have to have all 3 of those things. Be persistent, consistent, and keep a good attitude. So what we've shared with you on this short webinar today has taken me over 20 years. And yes, they're so basic. They're so simple. You're like, Darin, it can't be that simple. We could teach you the how-tos in no time. And we're going to do a lot of webinars. Okay, we're going to give you a lot of content. That's why you should check out the YouTube videos. Make sure you're looking at all our different content, because we're going to give you a lot more value than we've even given you to this point. We're stepping up. You're a part of the first webinars that we've done, and we have a lot more coming down the pipeline. But the how-tos are very simple. But if you don't have the right mindset, the right attitude, the right philosophies, you're not going to get to the how-tos. So remember, basics create wealth in network marketing. Fancy does not duplicate. Basics equal duplication. Fancy equals death. So when we give you the simple things, and you'll learn when you're building your business, 80% of your production is going to come from new people. So we always want to keep it so simple that a dud can do it to a stud or a studette, right? It could duplicate 5, 10 levels deep, 20 states, provinces, countries away. That's when you know you're doing it right. So everything on this webinar is something that you can do. But what's easy to do is easy not to do. And again, spaced repetition. I recommend you go back and you watch this webinar over maybe once a week for the next 4 to 6 weeks in a row. I recommend, if you got value out of it, do you think your team will get value? Because this could be the one webinar that kept them in the business long enough to have that breakthrough. So you want to share this with your entire organization. And what I like to do is I like to get them to commit to it. Go, look, do you have the link? I just texted it to you. Because we're going to put it on YouTube. We're going to put it on succeedwithdarin.com. We're going to do a blog post. We're going to have free ebooks that you can download in the description. We're going to give you all kinds of stuff with this, and it's all for free, right? Which sometimes that's a challenge because when you give it to people for free, they don't really put a lot of value on it. But we're gonna put it out there everywhere. So watch the replay, get it out to your organization, and we look forward to giving you a lot more content and helping you go out there and build your business and achieve your goals and your dreams. So this is Darin Kidd, and we appreciate your time and can't wait to see you on the next training. Take care.